Hello, SAP. We are here with Dr. Susan Heitler. My name is Dr. Zoe Ross-Nash, and we are doing SAP's Who's Who. I'm particularly excited to have Dr. Heitler on today because it is our first female Who's Who. And I'm just very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Of course. So let's just get started. Can you tell me a little bit about your educational background and professional experience?
Educational background. I went to Harvard and then got a master's degree at Boston University in teaching emotionally disturbed children, taught in New York in a normal school where a lot of the kids were very disturbed, and then got my PhD in clinical psych from NYU.
Very great. So all along the East Coast.
All on the East Coast. And while I have the chance, I want to say a special thank you to Paul Wachtel, a very well-known psychologist now. I had met him along the way on a trip that we were all taking. So when he heard I'd applied to NYU, he checked what was happening with my application. It had been tabled because I said I had no money to pay for it. I would need fellowships, and they didn't have one. And he said, "Look, guys, why don't you just take a look at her?" So they gave me an interview, and the rest is history. So
Wow,
thank you all.
what an amazing story. So I guess going off of that, what even inspired you to become a psychologist?
When I was growing up in the 1950s, we go way back, women didn't have careers. So the career, I take that back, the career was to raise children. Well, I wanted children, and I've been very lucky. My husband and I had four wonderful kids. And I also wanted a career. I think one of the turning points was seeing Eric Erikson, Childhood and Society, give a lecture. When I was at Boston University, actually, he spoke, and I thought, that man is on to something. He has such a breadth of knowledge about all the things I'm interested in. I think I want to become what he is. And so I reapplied for a clinical psych degree.
Very cool. I can't even imagine how impactful seeing Eric Erickson present must have been. What was his topic?
I don't remember his topic. What I remember is his presence.
Wow. Oh, that's
He
so
just had such a confidence, and when he spoke, the confidence was merited because his ideas resonated for me.
wow. Yeah, it really landed on you and even changed your career path. So
Absolutely.
within this field, what would you say are the common misconceptions or misunderstandings about psychotherapy?
I'm working on a paper on my favorite misconception right now within the field. That misconception has to do with how we treat clients who happen to be married.
Hmm.
If we see a client who's married in individual therapy, yes, we may help some and not as much as we would be able to help if we also included some couples sessions. So, on the ethical principle of beneficence, it's important when someone's married to also have some sessions with the spouse. Now, the other big ethical principle is non-maleficence. When we see someone who's married and only them, we're at total risk of misdiagnosing what's going on, which is uh, can lead to some really damaging impacts for the person, for the spouse, for the children. And most recently, for instance, I saw a woman alone who was married. She convinced me that her husband was really abusive and she had to get out of what's she going to do about him? When I saw them together, I realized, oh, that's projection. This
Mm.
woman is really abusive to her husband, and he needs to protect those children as well as himself.
Wow. So really
Just
understanding your clients in the context of their relationships.
absolutely. Then there's multiple other reasons. I give 3-hour workshops on this topic. I won't give you the whole workshop right now. And yes, the field must reconsider, must understand that number one, marriage is hugely important to happiness. There's so much data out there. Number two, it's a happy or well-functioning marriage that makes for happiness. So we need to help our clients make sure they're having, if they're married, a well-functioning marriage. There's the diagnosis issue. And the other thing is when both people are there, they can both make changes. Otherwise, the risk is that she'll make changes or he'll make changes, whichever one I'm seeing and the other won't. I'll give you a prime example, and this one haunts me.
Mhm.
I have so many of these examples are coming up in my mind. Two quick examples. One woman who was in individual therapy, not with me at that point, she loved her therapist. And every time after the session, she'd go home and tell her husband how wonderful he was, her therapist, not the husband.
Mhm.
Wonderful. The husband suicided. He left a note that said, I'll never be as good as your therapist.
My goodness.
So I knew her because afterwards, needless to say, she was devastated. Second example of seeing somebody alone without their spouse. My rule when I see a couple or an individual is I want to do combined individual joint therapy, and I need to do both parts. The prevailing wisdom in the field is if I'm the individual therapist, I'll refer out.
Right.
So when people first come, if they have a therapist, I say, my policy is, and you
Mm.
can get away with anything with that phrase. My policy is, if you're going to work with me, it's important you take a break from your individual therapist. So one woman said, oh, I can't do that. I've seen that for her for years. I'm so dependent on her. So I said, okay, let's find a win-win. You'll only speak with her about your individual issues, anything that has to do with the husband. That sounded good in theory. Several weeks later, she came in all black and blue. Can you guess what happened?
Oh, I don't even want to say it out loud.
She worked with her therapist on assertion training, which was the going thing then. She didn't have both of them there to work simultaneously with a coordinated change. So she went home and she became assertive. He panicked, knocked her down the stairs. I don't know what else he did, whatever. It's vitally important. The one therapist rule, one therapist does both pieces. And that the therapy for a married person be combined, individual and couple, with whatever proportions fit in that case. The difficulty, and here's where it's a place where I hope the field will do some soul searching, is most graduate students don't get all that much couple or family therapy training. So they think, oh no, I'm not ready to do couples therapy. I'll just treat the individual. End of
Mhm.
condensed version of the 3-hour workshop.
My goodness. Yeah, there's minimal training on couples in graduates
It's a big
programs.
problem. People live in family systems,
Mhm. Yeah. And you get so much more data when you work with the unit.
100%. And so much more leverage because you can help them both change. And you see things that you wouldn't see one-on-one. Hey, you're a nice person. Anyone can have a nice conversation with you. That's a separate issue from what they do at home.
Right? Their inner world versus their outer world. So you've done incredible things with your career. You have these 3-hour trainings. You've worked with countless couples and families. What would you say is the most rewarding part of your career?
Oh, I hate to admit it, I'm a little bit competitive. But when I look at psychology today, at my blog there,
Yeah.
and I see that it's had well over 26 million
Wow.
views. It's very satisfying.
That's quite
And
an
the
impact.
competitive, pardon?
It's quite an impact.
Yes, and I'm thrilled with the impact, and I must admit there's a part of me that says, hey, I won over many, many people with how many people have read those.
Yeah.
What you say is right about impact, because what really matters is, for instance, would you like a for instance?
Yeah, I would love one.
Uh, Someone close to me was having a problem as her elderly mother was dying. Her sister-in-law was trying to push her out, even though she, my relative, had been the one taking care of her mother all along. The sister-in-law started spreading rumors, false rumors, and turning everyone else against her. Do you know the word for that?
Triangulation.
That's a nice word, alienation.
Got it.
So we talk about parental alienation, and I hope any therapist hearing about this
Mhm.
know about parental alienation. It's essential. If you don't know, go to my website, therapyhelp.com.
Got it.
And I have a whole batch of stuff there, a whole section on parental alienation. Parental alienation occurs when usually a divorcing parent tells the children and everyone they know lies, very negative about the other in order to push them out of the picture and be the sole person in contact. So that was the same process that my family member was experiencing with the person who was trying to push her essentially out of the inheritance,
Mm.
alienating the aging mother and everyone they knew in order to bolster the alienated mother, elderly mother, newfound distrust of the daughter who was the healthy one, who'd always taken care of her. Yeah. So the reason I go into that long story is I wrote it just to help out my relative. I figured, if I put it on the web, it looks official. I made up the name adult sibling alienation. Fine. What I never expected was that by this point, there's someone where between 150 and 200,000 people who've viewed that. And I get very frequent emails. You're describing my situation. That's exactly what happened. So why did I say that? Oh, what's gratifying about the 26 million views is that, as you said, it turns out those blog posts on Psychology Today, not just mine, everyone's, really do make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, and it's nice to get your flowers with all those views.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I imagine that was unexpected, but what would you say
totally.
is the most unexpected part of your work?
What's the most unexpected part of my work? I have to think for a moment. When I was in high school, I hated writing.
Mm.
When I got to college at Harvard, I'd never written anything more than a one-page paper, and they assigned the first week a five-page paper. It's a good thing I had a boyfriend because he helped me write it. I just hated writing. The unexpected part is that I've written 6 books.
Wow.
Yeah, not to mention over 300 blog posts. So yes, it's been very unexpected.
Yeah, it helps when we're passionate about it. What was the first book you wrote?
Oh, funny you should ask. Uh, I realized I wanted to first address the profession. I was active at that point in the new movement called SEPI, Society for Exploration of Psychotherapy Integration.
Mhm.
I knew that my work on conflict resolution offered an integrative model that could guide many, if not most, forms of therapy. So that's what this book is about.
Very cool. That's
Yeah,
amazing that you were able to do that.
it's amazing to me. Oops, I just made a mistake. I'm wrong. That was not my first book. That was the first book that I really took seriously.
Okay.
Before that, I told you I had 4 children,
Mhm.
and by the time the fourth one was 4 years old and steadily sucking his thumb, I realized we've had 3 kids so far with serious need for braces.
Hmm,
Maybe I could prevent that with number 4. So I thought I'll do a little like story therapy. I'll make up a story and tell him the story about a little boy who learns not to suck his thumb.
brilliant.
I wrote it down so I'd tell it fluently. I read him the story and his eyes got so big as I was telling. And after we finished, he turned to me and he said, I want to stop my thumb sucking too. And then I realized, oh my goodness. So we turned it into a book.
Oh, very cool. Wow.
We is my sister, Paula Singer, who's a wonderful photographer. And while the story is great as far as motivating kids, and it still sells a ton. This was, 30 years ago that I wrote it? No, it's probably more than that because he's up in his 40s.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, Anyways, it's my sister Paula Singer's photographs that just put it over the top.
We'll have to look that up. And knowing the backstory, that's quite cool and effective of a book.
Yeah, reading a story is such a good form of therapy for kids,
Hmm.
for habit change at least.
Wow, that's so powerful. So then, what is your hope for this field?
Well, number one, going back to my concern about married people, is I hope that we will learn to be supportive of marriage. I hope that there'll be a radical increase in the quantity of training in couples therapy, family therapy too, and especially couples therapy.
Yeah, I think in my graduate program, it was maybe one class, like not even a whole semester, just literally one 3 hour class.
You're kidding.
Yeah, we did not have any training in couples.
Oh, I'm appalled.
Mhm.
Do you do couples therapy?
I do now because I got supervised on it,
Because,
but
because
definitely
what's that?
I got supervised on it,
What?
but I had no experience before, so it's very sad that programs don't put enough attention to it.
Wow. Well, to help out, I've made a video continuing ed program, an online continuing ed program, Effective Couples Therapy.
Yeah.
It has a blend of many techniques and a lot of my own particular model, which combines, it's integrative, backward looking, cleaning up from the past with forward looking skill building. And the third part that's essential, and this is the other thing I want from the field, in the present, people have conflicts in their lives. That's what triggers upset. So therapists have to be experts in conflict resolution. They are not. What I hear is you too have to learn to compromise. Compromise is a lose-lose situation. If I want to live in Denver and my spouse wants to live in New England and we end up in North Carolina, it's not a
Happy.
win-win solution. So I explain in all my books, and on my website, therapyhelp.com, I have a ton of stuff explaining how you do win-win conflict resolution. Everyone in our field needs it because whether we're helping people resolve inner conflict or conflict with others, or the third realm is a conflict between me and something in my situation. We have to learn the 3 steps of effective, whether we call it conflict resolution or problem solving or decision making, it's the same 3 steps.
When we had briefly spoke before, you had told me about the hand, and there were 5 different, and we didn't get to finish it. Could you tell me a little bit more? Because that's conflict resolution, right?
Yes, in case
Okay, tell me
people
about the
are
hand.
wondering about when we spoke before, we tried to do this in interview and the internet went out. Oh well, here we are.
Here we are
We're
again.
with internet. As you go, this is what I call the hand map to explain the sources of negative emotions, what triggers them, the purpose of them, and how to back up and get back into well-being. Are you ready?
I've been looking forward to this all week. So
Okay. As we walk down the road of life, every so often we hit a bump. See that little bump where your wrist is? So at that point, there are five options. Let's say the bump is I want my kids to dress themselves in the morning and Mommy, Mommy, help me. Okay, or it could be something with a spouse or a boss or a friend, anywhere. Okay, so Mommy, help me. So if I get overwhelmed by all my kids saying, Mommy, help me, and I'm trying to put something in their lunch boxes and prepare a healthy breakfast, and it's just so overwhelming. I can get mad at them. I can take the anger road. I call that fight road. Or I can give up on what I want, which is to finish making the lunches and just do what they want. Well, that road leads to depression. Fold road. Oh, I just can't get the things done I need to do. Now I'm going to have to drive later in the morning to the school and deliver their lunches. Oh, it's another thing. Okay. When we give up on something we want, that invites depression. So fold road. We have
Mhm.
fight road, we have fold road, we have freeze road. The kids all want me. They want my help. I got to cook. I got to make breakfast. What'll I do? What'll I do? What's frozen? Frontal lobes, the ability to think, make decisions, solve problems. So I may be still cooking and with one hand helping them put on their shirt, but my mind, my problem solving mind has frozen. So freed roles perpetuates anxiety. All of those initial negative feelings indicate there's a bump. Oops, there's two more roads. What do we do about them? Flee. Flee road leads to the addictions or obsessive compulsive habits that distract people from the bump.
Mhm.
I'll just stop off at the bar. I'll feel fine. I won't be angry. I won't be depressed. I won't be anxious because I'm too, whatever. The good news is there's still the thumb root. The thumb root, I had to find an F word. Find solutions.
Nice.
If you take the find solutions thumb root, then you go back into the realm of well-being until you hit the next bump. And if you consistently find solutions, problem solve, do the 3 steps of conflict resolution slash problem solving slash decision making, you come up with a plan of action. So if that mom who is so overwhelmed sits down and thinks, I'm going to find solutions. Oh, one thing I could do is pack the lunches the night before. Second thing I could do, my mother always used to make us French toast and scrambled eggs, and maybe I'll just switch to cold cereal. There's some good cereals out there, and that would be so much easier. In fact, I can put several boxes on the table and the kids could pour their own. Maybe I also could lay the clothes out for the kids the night before, or as one of my daughters later taught me, maybe I'll dress them the night before in their clothes for school. They can sleep in them. And then the breakfast time will be so pleasant and relaxed. And I think I'll have them pack their backpacks the night before too. Okay, that's problem solving. That's find solutions route. True confessions. That was one of the struggles I had as a young mom.
Yeah. Morning times are so hectic with kids. I
Oh,
remember from my own childhood.
yes, absolutely, you're right.
Yeah, well,
Only they don't have to be if You take the thumb root and find solutions. You got it.
I told you I was going to steal that, and I did. I used it with one of my clients. So thank you for
I'm delighted.
that.
Yes.
Well, as we've said, you've done so much in this field, but do you have any future plans?
What are my future plans? I've been thinking a lot about that lately, and I have come to lots of conclusions and no conclusions. One conclusion is I love helping couples. So I'm going to keep probably scale down the number of couples I see. And at the same time, it's so gratifying to see couples who are at each other's throat become a pair with a lot of love and create a home for their kids. That impacts all the generations to follow. So I do love doing that.
Wonderful. So maybe
Yes.
slowing it down, but continuing your work.
And I think the other thing I really enjoy doing is teaching other therapists. So I'll continue to do workshops. Uh, Online, you can reach so many people.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
your website is therapyhelp.com?
Uh, that's one of them. Second website with lots of self-help materials,
Hmm.
prescriptionswithoutpills.com, based on this
Wonderful.
book. That's based on the hand map.
Oh, fantastic.
It uses the hand map and then it gives treatments on how to get from anger, depression, anxiety, back to feeling good and being able to problem solve. So these are both self-help and useful techniques for therapists.
That's great. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much for meeting with us today. Do you have any last words for the division to hear about you?
I hope other therapists get to have so much fun in this profession as I've had.
Yeah,
I
it's a
feel
great field.
so fortunate, and makes me emotional, but I want to thank Paul Wachtel again for enabling me to enter the field.
You've certainly done so much with it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've had such a beautiful career.
Thank you. And hopefully it's not over yet.
And you have so much more to
I,
do.
I celebrate this summer my 50 years as a therapist, and for sure I would like to do more.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you again for coming on, Dr. Susan Heitler, and we will see you all soon.